Hello. Hope you had a great week, end of week, or great week as we wrap up this week. I wanted to come by and have a discussion today around the theme of the week, which seems to be mostly around fear. That seems to be something that keeps popping up in discussions, specifically around sales. So I wanted to make this week's podcast around addressing uh, fear, which is what seems to be one of the main concerns when it comes to sales. So yeah, so if this is your first time here, my name is Anne Pierre. I am host of the Godly Business Podcast and coach with Better Saleswomen. And we just talk about everything business, sales, and God. So if you're interested and find those subjects interesting, please make sure to subscribe and just follow us for more. And yeah, so I'm going to dive right into some of the things that just seems to keep being a reoccurring theme, which is fear. Now, a lot of time people don't go straight out and say, "Oh, I am fearful," right? They give other things like, "I'm worried people are not going to accept me. I'm worried about this. What if this?" Which all comes boiled down to fear. So I'm going to address a couple things today around that. And the first thing I want to address is the fact that I've done a couple videos around this subject before, around fear. And I think it's something that I'm probably going to keep bringing back up because I do feel like the main thing stopping a lot of people from doing their calling, right? Doing the things that they know that they're good at, launching that business, taking that first step is because they are fearful. So as a coach, of course, that's something that I have to help some of our clients get over is fear. So here's the first thing we're going to address is getting clear on what exactly you are fearing. Because one of the things is sometimes we have this sense where we're like, oh, I'm not sure about this. I'm concerned about XYZ. I'm concerned about all of these other things. But we never actually sit down to, okay, what exactly am I afraid of when it comes to this particular subject that I'm struggling with? So, in the realm of sales, right? What exactly are you afraid of and asking for the sale? One of the things that come up is, well, I'm afraid that they're going to say no, right? So then the deeper question is, what is it that the word no, what is it that makes you feel fearful around that, right? So then you dig deeper to uncover mindset around rejections or mindset around your perception of finance and all of those things. But the where to start in order for you to figure out what your issue is around fear is to understand what exactly are you fearful of. Because sometimes we don't move because we feel that sense, but we're not even sure. It's like being anxious, but you don't have something pinpointing at exactly what the anxiousness was causing the anxiousness, which then makes it really, really hard to address, right? So that's the first thing I would like for you to try to figure out what exactly you are fearing. Name it. If you can name it, you will have much more power and control over that if you could say exactly what it is. And this is an exercise they do a lot in therapy. If you have been in therapy, or you could search it, is to name the thing that we are so afraid of. Once you name it, it has less power over you, right? So that's the first thing I would say is name the thing that you are fearful of. So that's first. So now that you have named it, the second step I need you to do is this exercise that my coach used to do with me when I was newer to sales, and it's like, what is the worst thing that could happen, right? What if if you are thinking about the worst possible scenario, right? So, for example, like if you are in commission sales, right? Like if I don't sell this month, I will not have a paycheck. If I don't have a paycheck, I will not be able to pay my bills. If I cannot pay my bills, I'm going to be homeless. Like, right? So think of like all the worst case scenarios that could have possibly happened. And most of the time, your worst case scenario will not happen, right? Like 99.9% of the time, your worst case scenario will not happen. But doing that exercise sometimes can help you realize, okay, even if the worst case scenario were to happen, you will be fine. You'll be fine. You'll overcome. You will most likely nothing of those things will happen in the first place. But even if you were to do all of those things, guess what? You did not die. You will find an alternative. You are a human. You are built to survive, right? So do that exercise. Do the exercise of what is the worst thing that could happen, right? And a lot of times, because we're not like naming those things, confronting them, having the discussion of like what is it exactly that I'm sensing? What is it exactly that I'm fearing? And not being able to name that exact thing. We go into spirals and spirals and spirals of worry for no absolute reason. And I'm guilty of that, right? Maybe not around sales, but around other things that I find myself doing that. So that is an exercise that actually has worked for me in naming what's the worst thing that could happen. And then it's like, okay, if this happens, then what? Then that happens. And if that happens, then what? And some people that may cause more anxiety, but for me, it actually helps me to be like, okay, honestly, it is not the end of the world. If this worst case scenario thing that you're thinking might happen happens, right? So that's two. First, name the thing. Two, what's the worst that could happen, right? Now, the third thing is I want you to, sorry, practice whatever you think, especially in business, right? You're like, oh, I'm so scared. I don't even want to move. I don't know what to do. In your business, you're like, I don't know which steps that I can take, what step I should take. I want you to just practice doing one or two things toward that thing that you're afraid of, right? So let's say it's contacting a client, right? It's a prospect that you've been kind of like, oh, I kind of want to work with this person, but I don't really know how to approach them. Write up an email draft. Start there. Write up an email draft, right? Figure out, okay, what are some of the things that this person may be concerned about? Just taking baby steps toward actually making the contact will actually help you to slowly get over your fear and actually do it. At one point you're gonna have to just do it, but I do feel like just taking those slow baby steps toward that goal, toward that thing that you're fearful about, toward making that phone call, will actually help. And this is why also having the sales structure, having the sales call structure will help you as well, because having the structure, you kind of already have a plan to have the conversation, right? You have a plan of how you're going to move through this conversation, how you're going to navigate it, and it makes it a lot less anxious for you if that is something that you're concerned about, right? So just that, doing baby steps toward the things that is super, super fearful for you. And so after doing that, if you are still finding it hard to jump in and do the thing that you need to do, maybe the next step is getting an accountability partner. An accountability partner will help you walk through those things that you are fearful of. So it could be someone either in the same industry as you, or a friend, or a business partner, or your spouse, somebody, or a coach. Maybe if you cannot find that person that can hold you accountable for it, That's why they have coaches, right? Whether it's a coach like myself, a sales coach specifically for sales, or a life coach, someone that you literally are paying to keep you accountable, right? I think of me trying to work out at home is not my strong suit. Like, cause I will start working out and then next thing you know, I'm in the laundry, throwing a load of laundry in, folding clothes, and I'm like, oh snap, I was supposed to be working out, right? But it's different when I have a coach, right? Because I'm like, oh, this person is waiting for me. I'm paying for it. This person, woke up early. They're waiting for me at the gym. So I have to be there, right? So sometimes it's worth it to get that accountability partner paid for. But if you're not at that step yet, get a friend, get a someone that can kind of push you in going toward the step that you said you need to do. Okay, so those are some of the things that I wanted to discuss as far as trying to get over your fear of whatever it is, right? So in the sales conversation, it's a lot around not being able to, not knowing what to say, not knowing what the next step is, not knowing when it is to ask for the sale and how to do all of those things, right? So beyond sales, same thing as that is being very, very specific as to what it is that you're scared of, what it is that fear that is making you worried, right? I think it's interesting how the Bible has 360 some odd thing around do not fear, do not fear. And I feel like it's because God knows that is something that the devil uses against us to stop us, right? There's this story that my pastor told a long time ago, how the devil went to God and was like, okay, I'm gonna return all of my weapons to you. All of the things that I've been using, I'm gonna return all of them to you. But he kept one. He kept one in the back, and God was like, what is that you're holding in your hand? What's that you're holding in your back? And it was discouragement, right? And the thing is, if he can get us to be discouraged, then we will not move forward with the things that God has called us to do, right? We will all of a sudden find many excuses as to why we're not doing the things that he called us to do. So you launched this thing, you were excited about it, you ran ads, you did all this thing, and then nobody shows up, right? And you called on people, everyone keeps saying no, and you just feel completely discouraged. And I get it, it's frustrating, right? And you just feel like, what was the point of this, right? Did I miss my calling? Is this for me? So I get all of that, and I am right there with you, right? And you still need to do it. And you still need to move forward. And you cannot let fear and discouragement and confusion and things not working out this time around to stop you from doing the things that you have in your heart to do. So you tried this. You know how many businesses I've tried and failed at? Tons. But then I've learned, right? Because I'm a strong believer you can create your own path, right? So whatever is, if this is not working, learn about the lessons that you can learn from this, and then see how you can do it better the next time around, right? So the point is, a failure is not a failure unless you did not learn from it, right? So if you didn't learn from it, then yes, you failed. But if you can find the lesson that you needed to do to get from that, then it's fine. So here's my thing, right? I'm very big on, when you're learning how to sell, to record your sales calls conversation. And why that I push that so much and why that's important is because you will find your first sales call is kind of cringy because you're like, I forgot to say this. Man, I didn't bring this. I should have said blah, blah. After the fact, right? Because then you can see retrospectively like what you could have done. So in learning from those mistakes, your next call may not be great, but it's going to be a lot better than the first one. Right? So then you do it again the third time and you get a little bit better. And so that's what it is. Practicing the things that you are not great at will get you better. Moving toward the things that you are fearful will make it a little bit less fearful. Naming the things that you are afraid of will make it to have less power over you. Okay, so those are the things that I wanted to talk about today on how to overcome your fear of whatever it is, whether it is taking that business chance, asking that girl on a date, buying that house, whatever it is. I want you to name your fear. First, name it. Second, what's the worst that could happen, right? Three is taking baby steps toward achieving those goals, those mini goals, that big goal that you have, but taking many steps toward it. And then lastly is getting an accountability partner to make sure that you are on track, that you are not discouraged, that you're not going to just throw in the towel and say, oh my gosh, I'm done. Been there, done that. Okay, so I get it. All right, so that is it for me. This one was quick and dirty as well. I am running through these. Hopefully, it wasn't too fast and you got the message that I'm trying to send out to you guys. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. God bless. And of course, if you have questions, concerns, comments, leave them down below. Let me know, DM me, ask me whatever questions that you have. But most importantly, the person that you need to ask is God, because he will guide you, counsel you, and teach you in the way that you should go. And that's it for me, you guys. I will see you guys next week. Have an amazing week and weekend. Bye.